2018.
God.
Christmas has come early.
Oh, sweet. Oh, Edu. That Monday feeling. I mean, more often than not, it's pretty below par. It's pretty average. This might be one of the best Mondays of my life so far. My name's Jacob Culshaw. I'm joined by Sam Ucko. I'm joined by Charlie Zazzera. I'm still trying to work out what's on Sam's head. Is that a Christmas hat, Sam?
It's a Christmas hat. Like I said, Christmas has come early.
Shall I put on my onesie?
Should we just go all out today? Thanks so much to everyone who's watching live on this Monday night WD18, Monday night football, Monday night Watford. It's going to be a really, really good show for so many reasons. First off, we must just say and look at the championship table just to start off with. Watford, after yesterday's 2-0 win, are in ninth. They're on 48 points, 3 points off the playoffs. As Tim Coombs said yesterday, matchday announcer, there is no change at the bottom of the table. Big show on the way. Sam, your voice is just about hanging on.
It's hanging by a thread, hanging by a thread. But listen, it's all worth it because, you know, it's Watford Football Club. It's a huge football club. And, yeah, it's been an enjoyable... It's been enjoyable 24 hours. I can't lie. We'll get into it, but I potentially didn't enjoy the game, particularly the second half, as much as in hindsight I should have done. It was incredibly tense, that second half, although in hindsight we were in complete control. But yeah, I did take joy in watching most of the game back today as well when the club posted it on YouTube. So great day and looking forward to reviewing it with both of you.
Sam, are you one of the people that watched the full 90 minutes back on YouTube?
I tell you what, I wish there was enough hours in the day for that at the minute. I had it on in the background just listening to, because I actually find Derek Payne as well really interesting to listen to from BBC Three Counties. So I just had the commentary on in the background and listening to his insight in on the game, and yeah, it was interesting. But I'm sure that 90 minutes will be played a few times. I mean, I think the 90 minutes of our game against Wolves at Wembley is on YouTube somewhere, the full 90, and I've watched that a few times as well. So yeah, another one to add to the to the list, I suppose.
Charlie had it on the telly this morning, watching it back. You watched the Middlesbrough game back twice. How many times have you watched the Luton game so far?
I didn't watch the Middlesbrough game back twice. I watched it once live and once back in fast forward, Jacob. Don't make me stand. I watched this game yesterday from the Etihad media room, which was grim. Headphones in. I had the likes of your Ornsteins, your Sean Wright Phillips over my shoulder. I was like, I'm concentrating on this. And then I watched it back this morning from Sky. Robin Cowan did the commentary, which was good. And yeah, I'm looking forward to analysing some the intangibles just for Sam.
And you know what? This is when we're going up in the world here on WD18, because Josh in the comment section actually spotted Mr. Sam Ucko in spoons after the game. Now, Sam,
that was today.
This morning he was getting the breakfast deal. Sam, what was going on? What was going on after the game?
Yeah, it was a quick trip to spoons, but I can't lie, I didn't last too long, to be honest with you, because A, I'm not drinking as much at the moment, just in prep for the London Marathon, and B, I mean, there's two other reasons. One, my legs are in absolute pieces. Literally, I won't show anyone on stream, but my shins are literally look like I've got two tennis balls on my shins just from celebrating the goals yesterday, because it's like I was being pushed up against the seat in front of me, and it's actually been quite painful today, to be honest with you. And three, I didn't actually sleep too well the night before. The nerves were there, and I think with the whole emotional experience of that 90 minutes and the post-match celebrations, I was exhausted. So I had a nice cup of tea and went home and watched City against Liverpool.
Nice cup of tea in your mug. I've gone with Edu Kiembe today because actually this show should be dedicated to him, the man, the myth, the legend. Big show on the way for so many reasons. Just to give you a little bit of insight on what's to come. Cleverley's starting 11. That was a bold one. We'll get into that. We'll talk about the game, how Watford beat Luton easily, and that is the title of the video because it was pretty comfortable for Tom Cleverley's Hornets. We're going to talk about predictions for the rest of the season. any other sort of topics you want to get involved in, let us know in the comment section below. A big show on the way. Just a couple of comments before we get into things. Melanie, huge shout out to you. Went to the Mad Squirrel with my daughter and her godmother after the match. Lovely place. Made my disabled friend very welcome. Shamrock, lovely as usual. I haven't actually had a Shamrock. Have you like?
Never. I've had good things. A couple of people, I think. I think Sean's had it before. Sean Walk, obviously friend of the channel. I think he's had that, maybe.
Sean loves a Shamrock.
Yeah, potentially. Might be Welchie. Yeah.
A pigeon. Don't know if he is a pigeon, but it's Steve anyway. Happy Monday, everybody. Not sure if we got lucky with the penalty or not, but 3 points. Baby Charlotte says Luton was shocking. They're definitely doomed to relegation. That's one we'll leave for the Luton fan channels to talk about. And the Watford way, as Rob Edwards said, Watford FC is a huge football club. Do you know what? We're going to start off with that lineup, Charlie Zazzera. Unless there's anything else we want to mention, and make sure to leave a like on the video, comment down below your thoughts, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on audio, drop us a 5-star review. It does really go a long way. And of course, turn on your post notifications as well. Charlie, should we start with the lineup? Because we all saw it come through and our group chat was a little bit worried. I was anyway, I'll completely admit it, because we did a big preview about what team Tom Cleverley should go with. And he made a couple of tweaks, which were slightly unexpected, I'd say, for the majority of Watford fans anyway. Eagle Silverkin goal, a back four of Jeremy Ngakia, who came in. Kevin Caben kept his place alongside James Abankwah, with Larouci at left back. A midfield two of Tom Daly-Bashir and Imran Louza, who was skipper. Chatford, that's on the left-hand side. Tom Ince, who came in on the right. Edu Kiembe in the 10, with Mamadou Doumbia leading the line. That right-hand side, Charlie, was completely new. So just give us your initial thoughts when you saw that lineup come out, because as I said, I was a little bit surprised by Clever's selection.
Yeah, I think the biggest shock was no Matty Pollock, considering how good he's been this season. And when me and Sam done like the preview video talking about Luton's threats going to be, how direct they're going to be, and how many aerial duels we're going to have to fight for. And I think Matty's got probably the best stats in the Championship when it comes to aerial duels won. So we know Abankwah and Caben were excellent against Middlesbrough. I thought Matty would have come in there. And yeah, we spoke about Sissoko. We thought he might be fit, but he wasn't. And Tom Ince came in. I've spoken to you guys a few times about some frustrations I've had with Tom Ince in certain situations, especially the Leeds game when I think it was Perot scored that goal and I think it was Tanaka spinned him. But we'll get into Tom Ince's performance, because I thought he shut me right up. And it was great to see Doumbia to start. So not what was to be expected at all. What were your fears, Jacob?
Well, to be honest, I thought Matty Pollock was going to come back in. I thought that was pretty much nailed on, just because, as I mentioned in the preview, that I felt like a character like Matty, as we saw when he came on, he did get a booking, but he won everything in the air, got really stuck in. And I just feel sometimes you need like something like that in a derby game. Having said that, I think Caben and Abankwah do complement each other quite well, Sam. I do like the look at those two, particularly on the turn. Both of them have got real pace and power, but also they showed really good composure on the ball, I thought, yesterday. And then in terms of Tom Ince, I mean, he was man of the match, according to, well, I thought he was really, really good. I think there was a couple of good shouts for man of the match, to be fair. But he got given it. Just your thoughts on that right-hand side, Sam, and Ngakia and Ince coming in.
Yeah, I was really thrown off by seeing Ince in that starting 11. Not necessarily because I didn't necessarily. I mean, when me and Charlie did that video predicting the lineup, we thought it would be, if Sissoko was fit, it would be Sissoko. If not, Rocco Vata would come back in there. So it did throw me a bit off, Ince being in there. But that was, I mean, without doubt, was his best performance in a Watford shirt, wasn't it? It was absolutely everywhere. Winning tackles. There was a moment in the second half where I think Luton broke, albeit it was a terrible counter-attack from them. I think it was a really poor ball made, but Ince ran all the way back and made a slide tackle and got the ball back. And I think that epitomised his performance yesterday. I thought it was great. And Jeremy Ngakia as well. I know he's had his critics, but I thought as well he looked really solid. And something that I think has gone a bit under the radar with Ngakia is I actually think he's got quite a good delivery in terms of balls into the box. And he put in a really good cross for Doumbia as well. There's another one really good cross earlier on in the season as well, I think, for Bayo. But yeah, I thought both of them were really, really impressive. And in terms of the centre-back partnership, I know you mentioned as well, I mean, I thought Pollock was an absolute guarantee to come back into the team, particularly with, you know, his aggression and his leadership skills. But it's really refreshing, actually, particularly in the centre-back area, to see Tom Cleverley's got a massive headache in that area now, because hopefully their injuries aren't too serious, because I think both of them came off injured. But Cabell and Abankwah chose not to drop them, and you could see why. And Matty Pollock's been one of Watford's players of the season, so big decisions for Clevs in the coming weeks. But it's nice to have those worries, I suppose.
Absolutely. And before I just sort of compare the age of both teams and the market value, just to give us an idea of where both teams are at, one thing I think is a massive difference to this Watford team, especially in the last 2 or 3 games. And Cleverley said this is the best they've played this season in terms of level of performances in his post-match after the game yesterday. I just wanted to highlight that spine. Eagle Selvik come in, Abankwah, Caben, 2 new partnership at the back. Tom Dele-Bashiru, loser, Kiembe and Dumbia. So you've basically got Eagle Selvik who's coming for Backman. You've got Dumbia who's coming for Bio. You've then got a new centre-back in Caben or Abankwah, either or, and I'm sure Pollock will come back in at some point. And Loser's probably playing the best football we've seen with him at Watford. And I think there's it's no coincidence that Watford's performances have got a bit of consistency since that new spine has come into play. Charlie, let's have a look at the age of the both teams, both lineups from Watford and Luton.
Jacob, before we get into that, quick question for both of you. Because obviously in January, they would have known that Caben was relatively close. In hindsight, do you think the January transfer window was as bad as we potentially thought it was?
Ooh.
Yeah, I still think it wasn't great. And look, there was no guarantee that Caben was going to have 2 outstanding games. Abankwah has hit the ground running as well. I think he's been unbelievable, especially the last 2 games. Dumbia, I think it was brilliant yesterday again. I think he was probably better yesterday than he was Sunderland, even though Sunderland was like one where he really kicked on. But you're still banking on 19-year-olds, 21-year-olds, and there's no guarantees that they're sure things to work. So, yeah, for me, I still think it was a weak one, but I think Tom mentioned it as well when he said he's not as angry as everyone else is. So he had trust. And like we've been saying about centre midfielder all this time, because we never saw Loser and Tom Dele-Bashiru coming in being this effective. And we've only seen it in the last 4 games. So I think it was fair criticism. And I still think we're quite, not flimsy squad, but injury prone. Like, it wouldn't shock you at all if Loser, Tom Dele, Caben got injured. So we're still really short in terms of squad depth.
Yeah, if you look at the average age of this Watford team, 24.5 yesterday to Luton's 26.5. If you look at the market value as well, Watford's, according to SofaScore, is 22 million euros. Luton's is 41 million euros. So if you look at the actual
Lucky
market
little Luton
of both players, it's quite an interesting one anyway. Look, let's get straight into it. Just a couple of other questions on the lineup. Charlie, why do you think he went with Ngakia over Andrews? Because you wanted Andrews, didn't you? And I thought Andrews would start.
Do you know what? I think when me and Sam spoke about it, we think it might be one or the other. I think we put Ngakia on the left, didn't we? And we saw Laruzzi play yesterday, and I thought Laruzzi was really good yesterday. And I think he's building up a decent... It's taken about 6-7 months, but I think he's building up a nice little partnership with Georgie. They're kind of mixing up their games. There's obvious patterns there. And I think Tom just went, okay, I want to be a bit more kind of secure with Ngakia there on the right side and Laruzzi and Georgie, especially if Georgie kind of goes all over. So I think it was one of those, but we saw Ryan come on. And I actually think there was an interesting tactical move, which I'll get on a bit later on about how to cover for Ryan. But yeah, I think he could have gone either way, but I did think Laruzzi stepped up and it was one of his better games yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And also the benefit of having Ngakia in the team is if you have a situation like yesterday where Laruzzi goes off, you can bring him to left back and he can do a good role or a good job anyway in that position. Sam, I'm going to go from right to the start and fast forward right to the end. You said you didn't enjoy that game. Why did you not enjoy it? Was it just based on the occasion? Was it based on the way Watford played? Was it based on the way that maybe we didn't, like in the first half, Watford were all over Luton? I mean, we should have really made it more than 2, I think, going into half-time. We should have killed that game at 45 minutes. To be honest, we managed it, I thought, pretty well in the second half. but it probably could have been more comfortable had we been a bit more clinical. So why did you not enjoy it yesterday? Was it just the occasion, or was it the way Watford played?
No, it was definitely the occasion. I don't think it's a slight on the performance at all. I just think it's natural. I think if Watford were, if we were in a cup final or, a huge semi-final, something like that, I don't think anyone would really enjoy the game necessarily. And particularly that second half where, I said this to both of you beforehand, in hindsight, watching the highlights and some of the game back, Luton didn't really threaten as much as potentially it seemed like in the ground at the time, because there were some patches in that second half where it did almost feel like a matter of time before Luton scored. I don't know if that's me overemphasizing it, but I did feel like at points that we were almost holding on a bit and we were tiring quite a lot as well in that second half. So yeah, in that respect, I didn't necessarily enjoy it just because of the occasion and how tense I was. And I think credit has to go to the players, because I don't think, at least for me, I can't speak for everyone, but I think there was a tension in the ground in that second half. I think the atmosphere was a bit quieter than it was in that first half. And I think the nerves were creeping in, and credit to the players who were able to keep their heads and concentrate. I thought the concentration levels yesterday were brilliant, even at 2-0.
On that, I wanted to mention the atmosphere, because this season it has been a little bit hot and cold, hasn't it? Mainly because of obviously stuff going on upstairs, a bit of a disconnect between, well, I say a bit, there's been a disconnect between the board and the fans. There's been a real connection between the fans and Tom Cleverley and this Watford team. For me, that was the best atmosphere I've heard at Vicarage Road, particularly in that first half. And when the players came out, since we're in the Premier League, I think, since maybe one of those big games with the big six coming to town under the lights of the Vic, that was electric in that first half. And I'm not overdoing that. I think anyone who was at the game yesterday, I'm more trying to describe it for Charlie, but I think when the players came out though, Sam, there was a genuine roar from the Rookery, which is quite rare, I think, going into before the game. Obviously, the flags in the Rookery, you had the banners as well across the ground. The fans really turned up and set the tone. And I don't think it's any coincidence, actually, if you look at this fixture, that the home team normally wins. If you look at Luton at Kenilworth Road, if you look at Watford at Vicarage Road, more I thought the home team wins. And I thought we played a massive, massive part yesterday in setting the tone. Sorry, Charlie.
I just wanted to jump in before Sam says his piece on the atmosphere, because I wanted to know, how did it compare to 22? I wasn't there for either, but was there any difference between the two derbies?
Yeah, I think there was, definitely. I think firstly, I did think that yesterday was a bit less. I don't think the word fiery is wrong in a bad way necessarily. I just think with 2022, it was the first time we played them at home with fans in a long, long time. And I think the animosity was very much there. It was very, very clear. And in that 4-0, the majority of the game we were singing anti-Luton chants. Whereas yesterday, I think it almost shifted a bit and it was more behind Watford, if that makes sense. So in that regard, obviously the animosity was still there, but it was still a derby. But I think it was toned down slightly to get behind the team a bit more. And yeah, it was interesting because, like you say, Jacob, it was unbelievable atmosphere. I think it's difficult to compare the two atmospheres between the 4-0 and yesterday. Because I think the 4-0 was a lot more comfortable, potentially because of the players we had out there. We had Sarr, we had Pedro, we had Asprilla. Yesterday, I think it was a bit more of a case of digging deep. Even though we scored we went in at half-time at 2-0, I think it was still a bit more of a case of digging deep rather than... It was definitely more of a party atmosphere in the 4-0, whereas yesterday I think was more of a hostile atmosphere, if that makes sense.
No, I totally agree with you, Sam. I think second half, it did go a little bit nervy, a little bit tense. Then you had the 72nd minute applause in it, and Watford's fans then gave it just that second wind. I think there's definitely a conversation to be had about the Rookery and safe standing potentially as well before we get on sort of the analysis of it, because most of the Rookery, just correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, we were on their feet for 90 minutes. And that was the first time in a while I'd experienced that at Vicarage Road. And there could be a conversation to be had about implementing that, because there was definitely another level of atmosphere when that was the case. Now, obviously, it is a derby. It's a game that doesn't happen all the time. So there's going to be that level to it. But I just wonder if there's a conversation to be had about bringing that into play, because that could really take that atmosphere at Vicarage Road to another level. Sam, what do you reckon?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it would definitely stop my shins blowing up like they have today, digging it in front of the seats in front of me. I think the issue is that you're going to have, because obviously over the last 18 months, 2 years, we've had conversations about do you move the 1881 section to next to the family, into the family stand next to the away end, and that should lift the whole ground if all the noise is coming from that stand there. The issue is ultimately, and it's going to be the same with safe standing, you'll ultimately be asking people to stand up and move, either stand up or move seats. And some people would have sat in those seats for their entire lives and enjoy sitting. And ultimately, why should they move, if you know what I mean? If they've got an option to. So yeah, you're overcoming people having to move. Yeah, not just the Rookery, but even the family stand was stood up. The Elton John stand was starting chants. The Graham Taylor was, yeah, exactly. The Graham Taylor was bouncing as well. So yeah, it was a great atmosphere, special atmosphere as well.
Let's go through some of the key moments. We're 20 minutes in. Let's talk a bit more about the football. Here's the momentum, but it'd be rude not to. First half, look, Watford were dominant. They were by far the better team. Penalty from Tom Daley-Bashir on 11 minutes. Edu Kiembe, 23 minutes in. Brilliant work from Georgie Chapdadzi. Brilliant work from Mamadou Doumbia to get that move going as well. And Mamadou Doumbia as well for the penalty, winning that. And we'll get the guys' thoughts. And then second half, Luton, you knew there was going to be reaction second half. They made 3 subs as well. Watford managed the game, dropped the line, went a bit deeper, and Luton had more of the momentum in the second half. Let's go through some of the key moments, because there are some big talking points. And I think we should do it chronologically, Charlie, before we get on sort of analysis of the goals and analysis in general. Let's touch on that Ngakia moment 4 minutes in. I know you've got a couple of screenshots, haven't you, Charlie, about this one? Because this was a big moment 4 minutes in. And Luton fans and Matt Bloomfield was slightly frustrated that this wasn't given as a red card. Now, having watched it back, Charlie, what's your assessment on that incident?
Got the ball. I'm not sure. Caben's running back there. Another angle. Jeremy. Oh, the blood must have been rushing through his veins at the start of the game. I think the ref just about got it right. Although if it was against us, we'd probably be fuming. Caben was covering over. Would he have got there? I'm not too sure, but I don't really care too much. Oh well.
Charlie, would you? Sam, would you have wanted a red card if it was the other way?
Yeah, I think it is a red card, to be honest with you. Yeah, I do think he's very lucky, Jeremy, to stay on the pitch. I think, as we can see here, I mean, Caben, yes, he's covering, yes, he's quick, but the direction of the ball, I don't think he's getting there, to be honest with you. Before, what's the Luton player's name up front? They're also nothing. I don't even know their names. Yeah. Nordas, yeah, I don't think Caben's getting there. And also, if you just go to the second screenshot, Charlie, I just think it's a bit of a, I don't know, just completely blocks him off there. And if it was the other way around, I'd be fuming. I do think Jeremy was a bit lucky with that, obviously, to Watford as well. We take those on Derby Day. And it's interesting. I mean, I did want to talk about the ref, because other than that decision, which obviously went in Watford's favour, I thought he reffed the game brilliantly. Let the game flow as it should be in a derby.
There's 2 sentences next to each other.
let the game flow like in a derby, like he should. Quite a few yellow cards handed out. Some of them potentially not yellow cards, but on the whole, I did think he had a good game, and obviously it worked out for Watford. So we take those.
I'm really torn on this one. Just before we move on, if you flip it, I would want him to go. I think probably what saved Ngakia is how far Nordas is away from the 18-yard box, because he is midway inside the half. And as you say, Charlie, Caben's coming round, so he probably thinks Caben's giving a bit more cover than he is when you look at the screenshot. But also the fact it was 4 minutes in, and more often than not in derbies, I'm pretty sure the refs are told, don't make any huge decisions that can change the course of a game. And I think probably just those two coming together meant that it could. Yeah, I think that would have been harsh, personally. I think it would have been harsh. I think it was just about the right decision, but one of those where if you had a bad ref, could have been a different story. We move on. We got the goal, the opening goal, 11 minutes in. Charlie, another one. I don't know if we've got screenshots of this one, but was it a penalty? I mean, this is the thing. I feel like G. Nev took breaking these down, but I mean, I think this was absolutely a penalty kick. Now, when I watched it in real time, I thought, what's just happened there? When I watch it back, Doumbia gets there before Kaminsky or before the challenge comes in. And I don't think there could be any complaints. It's a clumsy bit of communication between the goalkeeper and the centre-back. Doumbia's worked hard, similar to the way he won it against Sunderland, where he didn't stop his run. He kept going. He kept hassling, won himself the penalty. I think it's a penalty. Do you think it's a penalty?
Yeah, I think Sam actually tweeted a better angle of this that you might want to get up. I've only got this because I wanted to talk about kind of how this goal came about. But yeah, he gets there before the goalkeeper. He gets a touch on the ball. The goalkeeper gets nothing, and there's contact. Penalty.
Agreed.
Yeah, I can get up my angle here of it.
Yeah, Sam.
So I mean, we can see here with the first screenshot. I think it's Anderson and Kaminsky have this completely under control. It looks like a complete lost cause. And I mean, I'll get on to Doumbia because I was so impressed with him, but absolutely terrible defending from Luton. Shocking to have something so under control like that and manage to screw it up. But I just think that all you ask for on Derby Day at a bare minimum is players give 110%, chase every ball, chase every lost cause, show like you want it. We didn't see enough of that in the first game, but Doumbia here could very easily, and I don't think we would be talking about it as almost a bad thing because it did look like a lost cause because he easily stopped running there, get back in shape. But no, he continues, realizes there's an opportunity, and there he just gets his foot onto the ball first and is taken out by a mixture of the defender and the goalkeeper. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Doumbia is obviously a raw player. He's got a lot to work on. He's only 19 years old. It's his third or fourth start this season, but the fact that he is, I think, improving by the week, adapting to the physicality of the league. He's becoming more intelligent with his runs as well. I think we got a player here, and yeah, I love him. After yesterday, that was a fantastic performance from him.
He's such a likeable footballer, isn't he, Doumbia? First full professional season in adult football, remember, 18 years old. Yeah, he can be raw, but my word, the work rate, the effort, just the endeavour to win the penalty at Sunderland, to win the penalty at Luton, his link-up play for the second goal as well. And Charlie, Ben makes a great point. Could we look back on that Bio sending off at Norwich as a season-changing moment? Because that gave Doumbia the opportunity to start because he hadn't started in a game up until that point. It forced Cleverley's hand because he has only 2 strikers.
Yeah, I don't think we should get too carried away because he hasn't scored yet, but it's chalk and cheese kind of his attitude and how he gets about the pitch. And yesterday he won the most duels out of any Watford player. Aerially, I think he won so much against the Luton players. For an 18-year-old kid from Mali to be doing that to Premier League players last season, although they are all nothing near Premier League level at the moment, we should say. But just his hold-up play, really neat and tidy. His energy off the ball is fantastic. I just want to see him now kind of getting those opportunities. Let's see how good he is in front of goal. But his movement's really good. And that's where that kind of goal came from as well. He got slid through and he was the one who wasn't the greatest. The ball's from Larousse and he was the one who was chasing it down. So I think that only Portsmouth's Callum Lang have won more penalties than Doumbia, considering the amount of minutes. Quadro Bar as well has got 2 who've won penalties. So it was exactly the same as Sunderland, making a nuisance of himself, and he's big moments for us in 2 big games, getting those first goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ian makes a fantastic point. Watch Dumbia's confidence go up even further as soon as that first goal goes in as well. And I think that when that comes, that'll be a massive, massive moment for him. He won the penalty. Tom Daly-Bashiru, cool as you like. He's become pretty reliable at penalties now, Tom Daly. Ain't nobody like Tom Daly, Sam. I tell you what, there's some cracking shot. I know I keep mentioning the fans yesterday. Georgie Chafford, that's his name, being sung to the Kike Sanchez Flores chant. Goodness me, that moved me.
Can you give me a bit of a rendition? How did it scan?
Go on, man.
Whoa, Georgie Chafford, that's it. I actually saw Georgie outside the ground yesterday afterwards as well.
Oh, yeah. Say hello.
Yeah, I did say hello. I had to get a nice picture with him as well. Yeah, delighted with Georgie's performance yesterday as well. We deserved that chant. I mean, I don't know if we wanted to spend a bit more time talking about Georgie or if we've got any numbers to back up his performance, but that first half, Henry Bennett, who did a great thread for us analysing Watford's performance on our Twitter, so make sure to check that out. But he was sat in the row in front of me yesterday, or stood in the row in front of me, and we turned around to each other after about 35 minutes and said, that João Pedro performance against Luton a couple of years ago, there were shades. Georgie showed shades of that yesterday, I thought, just the way he was absolutely tearing them apart. They could not handle him. I saw there was a couple of times in the game where Luton midfielders were almost pointing at him, being like, "Who's picking him up? Who's picking him up?" But no matter who picked him up, he always just found that space and, yeah, was just absolutely running rings around them, which might be a good time to have a look at that second goal.
Oh, that is a lovely segue. I thought Charlie was going to jump in about Georgie.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Georgie, one thing that I thought was a bit of a change in his game yesterday, because although it might have been shades about João Pedro, I don't think it was as good as João Pedro's performance a couple of years ago. But his out possession work was outstanding yesterday, even in the 90-something minute, winning the ball back in his own corner. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about, just our intensity. But yeah, he was great, and he made that second goal. And it's all about his decision making, which a couple of people kind of say about his end product. But one thing I thought about that goal, I thought Thomas Frank would like that goal, because it's about creating the highest XG chance as possible. And he literally was just like toying with the Luton defender, said, "Come on, come on, come on," getting as close as goal as possible. Cuts it back to Kayembe, who's not going to miss from there.
We'll get onto the out of possession analysis from Charlie in just a second. My biggest thing with Georgie yesterday, I thought he was absolutely brilliant. And I think sometimes as Watford fans, we take him for granted, the ability Georgie has, because we see him week in, week out, and we know the levels he can hit. And I still don't think, Sam, although he played so well yesterday, I still felt with Georgie there was a couple more gears he could go up in as well. I didn't think that was the ceiling with him in terms of his performance, particularly in the first half. But what I really liked about yesterday, and all credit to Tom Cleverley, that was clearly an instruction for Georgie to drift inside more. Because the amount of times, and this is why I found it similar to the Pedro performance. The Pedro performance is there. It didn't quite.
No, I don't think it did hit it. I just think there was some shades to it.
There were shades to it. And the reason there were shades to it was because he was allowed to be given the opportunity to drift inside. And Luton had left so much space in the middle, particularly when they committed men forward at a set piece or on the transition. And Georgie had every opportunity to drive into space. And that's what he did on the left-hand side. Do we want to break down the goal? Because it was a really well-worked goal. Lucy into Dumbia. Dumbia turns, gets out to Georgie. I mean, not one of the Luton players closes him down, which is just criminal with a player of Georgie's quality. And then he does so well to cross it to Kayembe. And Kayembe, by the way, goals from midfield. Is that double figures?
He's on 8. He's on 8 goals, second highest goal scorer for us this season.
Yeah, I mean, Jacob, before we look at that goal, you mentioned Georgie not having to get out of there's more gears for him to go up yesterday, but I think he was giving himself a rest. I mean, why would he try his best? He's playing the worst team in the league. Factually, they are the worst team in the league. So I don't really think he needed to go up any more gears. I mean, Georgie playing half his best is still the best player on the pitch. So, yeah, tells you all you need to know, I suppose.
He was releasing the ball well. I mean, yeah, really good bit of end product. But then also you flip it on the other way around. And this is where sometimes I get a bit frustrated with Georgie because we know how good he is. At the end, when he took the shot, and he should have played in Tom Ince, and Tom Ince was fuming. Tom Ince was fuming in the second half that he didn't get probably the goal that his performance deserved. Should we break down that second goal though, Charlie?
Yeah, I was just going to basically what I wanted to talk about in the first half, which I thought was the reason we were so good yesterday, was our intensity out of possession. And I thought throughout the whole game it was a Tom Cleverley out of possession masterclass, and I'll break down why. I haven't got I might have the second goal, but I'll just go through and we'll see how we get on. This first slide, Edo Kayembe, famous for his great out of possession work. This is 15 seconds into the game. He's running back and he wins a tackle. 15 seconds in, when Edo's doing that, you knew something was different. This was in the build-up for the penalty. Look how many bodies we've got going for that ball and the intensity. This leads to that famous picture of all the players going for the ball. The ball breaks down and Luton win it again. But again, look how many men we've got suffocating them to their one man. We were absolutely on top of them and we couldn't let them breathe. And that was how we got the crowd up. The ball breaks down to Loser, the perfect man for the ball to break to. Moves on to Lucy. Like I said, his ball wasn't great, but Dumbia makes something about nothing. But that was the kind of start, the intensity that I thought really, really stood out. What did you guys think about? Did you guys notice that in the game? Because how many times have we said this season about Watford are slow starts? But I thought the start of this game was the complete opposite, and we hit the temperature just about right.
Sam, it was really interesting what Cleverley said at full time, where he said he was actually a bit nervous going into this game. After 10 minutes, he knew Watford were on it. And I thought that was a really interesting comment from Cleverley, because it clearly been, I think the difference from sort of reading the build up to this game, right? And you can read into it a lot. There was a lot of talk, let's be honest, there was a lot of coverage, there was a lot of noise about this game in the reverse fixture. I think Watford were in a really good moment at the time. I have to admit, it was probably a bit of arrogance for me thinking we could go there and win, particularly with our record there. I think in this game, there was a particular effort from the club to maybe just downplay it a little bit. The only thing we saw was a press conference from Cleverley. There was no big pre-match videos. There was no big quotes going into the game. I remember Cleverley himself in the build-up to the other one basically making the point about how the players know how big of a fixture it is. I actually think, and we said it in the preview, we're a better team than Luton. It's categorically factual. Every one of our players gets into their team, I would say anyway. The one you could probably say, Isaiah Jones, was one of their players where you go, you'd probably take him out of that. Kaminsky's a decent keeper, but apart from that, we're a better team than them. We didn't actually need to build it up. We just needed to play our game. We won it and take the initiative to Luton. And I thought what we did well, and this is why I'm trying to link it to Charlie's point, was we took the initiative to the game. We set the tone in that first half of the rest of the match, Sam. And that's what I felt straight away, particularly the back line. I thought Bank was fantastic. I thought Larousse, again, had a really good game. I know Sam's probably recoiling just thinking about that. Loser, again, Deli Bashiru, Kiembe, the midfield. That first half, Sam, is my point is, away from the goals, we set the tone in terms of our off-the-ball work. Was there anything you noticed particularly about that first half performance?
Yeah, spot on. I mean, on Larousse, I'm a changed man now that I'm a big in-round loser fan. Just shows that, I'm now willing to give everyone a chance. And Larousse's last 2 or 3 performances, we've seen a massive improvement from him. So credit to him, and hopefully his injury isn't as bad. I did see him walking outside the ground after the game when all the Watford fans were leaving, and he was mobbed and looked fine, to be fair. So hopefully it's nothing too serious. But yeah, you're spot on, Jacob, in terms of the pre-match. Credit, I think, has to go to everyone at the club for that. The media team, particularly. No pre-match videos, no hyping up the game more than it needed to be. I think the first time I saw the word derby this week was the match day graphic morning before the game saying it's derby day. First time I saw it. And like you say, in that first game, I think Cleverley spoke about how he had people coming in to talk about the importance of the derby, or he showed them videos on how important the derby was. Whereas yesterday, I think he genuinely, in training, I don't know if he would have done it like this, but treated it as another game, as he should have done. And I think when that's probably the case, when you're playing to the occasion and just thinking about how important it is to win the game, the tactical element and actually playing the game of football gets lost within that, which is why an element, I think, of why we turned up and just got absolutely shell-shocked when we played them last time. And we know about that terrible performance, but I did sort of feel it flipped the other way around, and we didn't think too much about the derby. The players knew, I think, deep down how important this was. Walking out the tunnel, they knew. But they didn't need hyping up for this one. They just knew, get the job done. We're a better team than them, and we win. The flip side of that, I did see Matt Bloomfield's press conference, and he spoke a lot about it being a derby, how important the occasion was, how excited he was. So I wonder if there was an element of what we experienced back in October, they experienced this time around.
Charlie, do you think that came into the sort of selection process as well? Because our friends from the Rookery made the point about, was it Pollock? We know he's quite an emotional character. Andrews being a homegrown player. Bio was another one, maybe less so. Was there another player I think the guys mentioned?
Well, I think Dan Batman. Batman, obviously, again, talking about setting the tone, and we'll talk about Selvig a bit later on, but I listened to From the Rookery End. If you haven't, make sure to listen. Obviously, always the best podcast to listen. Well, one of the best. But
we love those guys, legends.
Shout out Watford Buzz as well. But no, they kind of cited that reason, and I'm not too sure if I agreed on it. But I just thought everyone got the tone right, even from like us talking about it in the week. He was like, "Don't build it up. We've been here before. We're not very good hyping up, are we? We just." And I just thought everyone got the tone right. Everyone knew the assignment. And I thought the players executed it. They done their talking on the pitch, and that's all you want. And that's when you can have the fun. That's when you can take in the sights after the game. That's when you can get the content out because you've done the business on the pitch. So, yeah, I thought everyone to a man got the tone exactly right.
Absolutely. We're halfway through the stream. If you could leave a like on the video, comment down below your thoughts, anything you want us to discuss on the show today. We've had a comment from Stu who said, were you surprised Vata didn't get any minutes yesterday? I want to see him get at least 20 minutes. Sam, I was surprised he didn't come on in the second half, which we'll touch upon in just a second.
I was surprised. I do actually think if Vata came on, we probably would have got a third goal, particularly as Luton were coming out and Rocco's pacing behind, I think would have been absolutely deadly. But look, I think Watford were in hindsight, we were cruising a bit and we didn't need to really change the shape too much or have that out ball. And we know Rocco's had a difficult couple of weeks being out of the team. He's been ill. He's lost a lot of weight. So as much as, you know, he would have been wanted to be involved in this game and as good as it would have been to see him in this game, I don't think an extra week off would have hurt anything. And hopefully he'll be back for Stoke next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And also with his illness, from what Tom Cleverley said, he lost like 4 kilos, I think, which is obviously not good at all for Rocco. So fingers crossed he's feeling a bit better now. On individuals, we mentioned, Charlie just briefly mentioned Eagle Selvig there. I wanted to give him his flowers because I thought he was absolutely brilliant yesterday. And what I mean by this is, and you've got to use Batman as a comparison. And the reason why is if you looked at the away fixture, I don't think Batman was fully fit. But there was an element that we played, everything just felt really edgy. Like, even in the stands, all 3 of us were there. It just felt at no point, and whilst it is difficult going away there and, like, you know, keeping you cool, it just felt like it was less so actually the body language. It was more some of the decision-making. I feel like the decision-making is so key in a game like this. But I think what a big game changer Eagle Selvig has been for this Watford team is a few things. Firstly, he's good with his feet. And the amount of times we played back to him meant that it just puts everyone at ease. He made the right choice. I don't think there was one clip ball in the second half which got stuck in the wind. Apart from that, he got every single pass absolutely bang on. He claimed his crosses really, really well. And overall, Charlie, he's just a calming presence in this Watford team. And the way he commanded his area in a game like today was the first time where I thought he looked good at Sunderland. I thought he looked good at Borough. But I thought yesterday was the first time where I'd gone, there is a clear difference with him and other goalkeepers we've had in between the sticks. Did you see it like that as well?
Yeah, it's just a level above, and it's the composure and it's what he does to the whole team. And yesterday was really eye-opening for me, especially watching it back, how good he was with his feet. I wanted to show that chance we talked about where Georgie, which could have been one of the greatest Watford goals of all time. He had a huge part to play in that build-up. So I'll go through that in a bit. But yeah, I just think he's outstanding. Even right at the end when they put in a corner or a cross, which was really deep, and it felt like he was under it. But instead of kind of diving for it, he saved it. Yeah, he looks really, really good. There's a reason he's playing international football. I know Norwich were interested in him while he was playing. They've got normally quite good talent scouting for those kind of gems. You look at some of the players they've got in board signs and players like that. So yeah, I think we've got a really, really good one. Whether it was a great bit of scouting work from Mr. Nanny, who cares? He's at Watford now. And there's another player who I wanted to talk about in terms of a banker and just do a quick bit on, because we got him from Udinese. And can you guys remember what the reaction was when we signed him?
I mean, that's another one, Sam, where you just, I mean, firstly, I really hope the injury isn't serious. Him, Caben went off. I mean, the back two, went off. Georgie went off as well, didn't he, as well? Hopefully those 3 aren't serious. Tom Cleverley said that it could be the fact that all 3 of them could be back come Saturday, or they could be out for a little while. So fingers crossed that's not serious. A bank has been absolutely brilliant and really, I think, taken everyone by surprise, mainly because I think it's a good lesson for all of us where you don't want to judge a player too quickly. And I have to say, when I saw his stats, he played 3 games at Charlton last season, didn't he, Charlie? And you spoke to a couple of Charlton fans, and clearly he just didn't really get a run in the team. But I just think he's so dynamic as a centre-back, Sam. And whilst sometimes you think sometimes his passing can be a little bit off, but he always looks to make the right decision. And that's what I really like about him. But what has it been about his performances so far that have caught your eye? Because that back two of Caben and Abankwah, bearing in mind, before Middlesbrough, they had never played with each other. And they both have only just really started to get a run in the team. It's pretty impressive, the performances they're putting in. Yeah,
I don't think people were necessarily writing Abankwah off before he signed. I just think it was more of a frustration over the situation. That it looked like the the easy option, an Udinese player who was quite inexperienced, but you know, I mean, I hate doing this, but credit to Gianluca Nani, who decided to bring him over to Watford because, like you say, he's been a breath of fresh air. I just think that pace at the back is really, really good to see. I think he looks really intelligent, and I think his ball carrying is so good as well. Part of the conversation that you know us two had, Charlie, and a lot of people had was, do you go with Pollock and Caben centre back and move Abankwah over to right back? But I don't think you do, because Abankwah's ability to bring the ball forward from the middle of defence, I think, is really, really valuable to us, because what that does is it opens up space for Georgie. It gets Watford up the pitch, and yeah, as a young player as well, I think he looks superb. And we've got a nice graphic of him dropping later on our Instagram, so make sure to check that out.
Follow us at WD18 fans. Mark Schofield, Charlie, says Selvig and Abankwah made a significant difference to our defence as well. Larousi was the other player that went off injured, by the way. So 4 players went off injured. Yeah, you just wonder with Abankwah, his ability, he can play midfield as well. No, that's not his natural position, but I think you're bang on there, Sam, that he can drive the ball out the defence, and that is so important, particularly in a back two. I think you get away with it a bit more in a back three, but you need one of your centre backs to at least be really comfortable on the ball, and that's what Abankwah and Caben look like. We're moving on to the second half, Charlie, shall we? And talk about maybe just the difference, and we'll get that momentum bar back up, because I know Charlie was getting withdrawal symptoms. But there was, just looking at the second half, there was a shift in momentum. We'd be lying if we said there wasn't. And as I said, we expected a reaction from Luton. Bloomfield made 3 subs at half-time. Probably the best question is, second half, Watford had 44% possession. Luton had 56% possession. Why did they have a bit more control in the game? Or did you feel Watford were in control of Luton?
I thought, watching it first time round, I felt out of control, but I think, like Sam touched about it, I think that's been an emotional fan. If you watch it objectively, they didn't get a sniff. Do you know what their best chance was in the game? Highest XG chance?
Was it the volley?
No, probably the last one where Selvig saved it.
Yes.
No, it was in the first half when they had a header which kind of looped over. So they didn't get near us. I think they had a slightly higher XG in the second half, but in terms of actual chances, they didn't do a lot. Had more shots. If you look at the shot map, it's all from distance. And I just think it's because we kept them at arm's length. And again, I wanted to kind of highlight the intense out of possession work. This is like earlier on in the second half when we lost the ball, and just look at like the body language of all of our players running back. Everyone is literally busting a gut. There's all of them, and this happened several occasions, and it's just, I don't know, maybe we think it should be commonplace, but you don't see it too much. And look at when Luton break away, Isaiah Jones looked up and they've just got absolutely nothing on. And then look, we've got 4 men on 1. And it's just excellent kind of work out of possession. This is something I wanted to talk about in Tom Ince's role, and why I thought he was really good, and why I thought we had really good control in the second half, because this was the Middlesbrough game. And this is Ryan Andrews playing right back, but also, and Lou Horns highlighted it, the role of Sissoko and the protection he did and how deep he was. Tom Ince played yesterday in the game, especially in the second half with Ryan coming on. If you look at Tom Ince's role, you can see him here. He was basically at right back. And it was mentioned quite a lot by Cleves and Tom Ince, talking about looking after this man, Alfie Doherty, who's probably their most dangerous player. And Tom Ince, the discipline, but the work rate that he put on was phenomenal. He was at right back for most of the second half, but on several occasions, this is a couple of minutes, he's the furthest man forward, chasing down lost calls. His work rate, I don't know how old he was, but was exceptional. This was his heat map. So again, you could basically see he was basically at right back for most of the game. And I just thought he was phenomenal. And again, this is another example of kind of all of our players running back, but Tom Ince having that nous, looking over his shoulder, what's going on. But I even liked Ngeki. It looks like he's doing a 100-meter sprint here. Like how the attitude that we had to get back was exceptional. So wanted to shout out Tom Ince, but I thought it was really clever from Tom Cleverley. And if you go, if I still got out, but you could just see we sat back in like a a 5 out possession with Tom Ince as a right back. Then we had Tom Delibashiru, Loser, who Loser played right back. Loser played as a number 10. Loser played as a centre midfielder. He was absolutely everywhere. And then we had good work from Georgie, Kayembe, and Mama up front. I'm calling him Mama nowadays just because that's what Ryan called him when we done that video of him. But yeah, I thought we just kept him at arm's length throughout the game and they couldn't get a sniff.
Do you know what? Just on that, Tom Ince's heat map, and that really does highlight it, Charlie, when you talk about the right back spot as well, giving that protection in the second half. And you mentioned in that Imran Loser, I had a little peek at his. Just have a look at the areas Imran Loser covered yesterday. An absolutely phenomenal effort, again, from Loser. Sam, is there an argument to say that he'd be a bigger miss than Chatfadazzi?
Wow.
I think he is.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, because I think you can almost see the conveyor belt that the next one after Georgie will be Vata. I know it's a slightly different position, but it's another attacking outlet that we'll have there next season, as well as hopefully we'll keep hold of Quadro Bar as well, and he'll be fully fit next season. And the good news is as well, we didn't really touch on it, but hopefully that he's only a few weeks away as well, only potentially 2 or 3 weeks away until we see Quadro Bar back playing for us. So yeah, I think it would probably be a bigger loss. It's just great. I mean, I've spoken about it. I've done my apologies every single week for the last 2 months, but it's just nice to see that A, his performances are improving, but B, I think I've only realised now that he lost confidence in his body after that injury away at Millwall, and I think that's probably a reason why it's taken him so long to get his performance levels back up. But he's got that confidence back. He's embracing the leadership role. Captain, fantastic yesterday.
And that, just on that, Charlie, Jonathan M makes a fantastic point. Loser was captain in the derby yesterday. Redemption arc complete. If you had said to us at the start of this season, right, on your Watford FC 24-25 bingo cards, Imran Loser would be leading Watford out in the M1 derby at Vicarage Road. There's absolutely no way, and I'm adamant that anyone listening to this or watching would not have had that on their prediction cards. So yeah, I mean, it's just incredible, really. It was not really a question. It was more just, what is it about his performances at the minute that have been so good? Because I have to say, I think he's the most important player for us.
I agree. I just think he's our heartbeat now, and he's pumping fast, and it's just the quality. It's just the quality, and it's not. And we talked about some players, were they too emotional? And I would have thought he might have fallen under that bracket, but none of it yesterday. I've got some. Our 2 biggest chances in the second half, I quickly wanted to run through, and obviously it's loser heavy. But I know we're running out of time already. This was a scene that you saw many a time yesterday. Loser starting the play with 2 centre backs splitting, and our back 4 looking like this. And this is what he wants. This is why we're still keeping the principles of we're basically playing with wing backs, especially when we build up, and Losers just dictating play. But this was Loser's chance. I'll quickly go through it. Starts off at the base. Tom Delibashiru finds Georgie. Georgie drives us up the pitch. Gaki, a nice little ball around the corner to Kayembe. Kayembe does well. Look who's on screen at the moment in this attack. Who do you think is going to have the shot? Kayembe moves it back to Ngakia. Ngakia back to Kayembe. Kayembe, nice pass. Oh, look who's there. Imran Loser. And a player of his quality should have done better. Quickly onto this, which would have been one of the greatest goals Watford have ever scored, I think. This was in the second half, and you boys were probably in the Olays celebrating. It was like in the 87th minute, it was George's chance, but we won a free kick, and Loser started off. Again, you can see how deep he is. He pitches it up to Bio, and fair play to Bio. He traps it and keep it down. Now, I've only got the screenshots of Loser's involvement, but in this move, we had 25 passes from Watford players before Georgie's shot. Every single Watford player had a pass in this move. These are just all of Loser's, and it just shows him dictating play throughout the move. Back to Ince, rotating it, goes back to Loser. You can see him again, turns, gives it to Selvik. And this is when Selvik played a really, really nice ball into Bio. Again, Bio kind of drops off. Terrible from the Luton defender. He doesn't know whether he should get tight to Bio or not. He doesn't. Bio then knocks it to Georgie. and Georgie goes on a brilliant run. He has a great shot, which is well saved. It could have gone a bit lower, but being critical, he probably could have passed it to Tom Ince. 25 passes. Go and watch it back on the Watford full highlights. Literally laying it around, 25 passes. Every single player had a touch of the ball. If Georgie screams that in, that would have been one hell of a goal.
Oh, mate, that is beautiful analysis. I wanted to throw the question out then in terms of the performance. And I wanted to chuck over a comment because obviously we're running out of time a little bit. And thanks so much to everyone who's watching live on this Monday night as well. It's a little bit of a different time. Lee Cussack, good to see you, Lee. Interesting comments. Sam, the result has really clouded people's perception of the game. Yes, we were the best side in the first half, but we didn't get out of our half for the first 10 minutes of the second half. Lee went on to say, look at the game in the good light of day. I like to think we are, and we're lucky to get away with a 2-0 win. Don't get carried away, guys. Now, before I throw it over to you, Sam, I disagree, Lee, with the last comment in the sense that if you can't enjoy a derby win, no matter how you do it, then there's probably no point being a football fan, in my opinion, anyway. We could have won that 1-0 yesterday and played really badly. We probably would have got carried away just because of the manner and the sort of nature of the game. In terms of the performance, though, Lee, I don't particularly disagree with you, Sam, in terms of the first and the second half. There was a difference, right?
Yeah, I think I've been thinking about why this happened. I mean, firstly, yeah, I agree with you. Obviously, gonna mainly enjoy the win. Because it is Derby Day. But I think the reason why the drop-off was there, I think the players put so much into that first half. The energy and the effort levels in that first half. I do think half-time came at a good time, particularly that last 5-10 minutes of the first half. I thought we were hanging on to the wrong word, but I looked at someone like Kevin Caben, who was, I think he looked like he picked up that injury in the first half because he was really struggling towards the end and at the first part of the second half. But that's where the analysts, I'm sure, and Tom Cleverley will take time, because it wasn't, I don't think any Watford fan would say it was a perfect performance. It was a perfect day in terms of the experience and the actual result. But yeah, there were definitely areas to improve on for Watford. But yeah, that's for another day to worry about, I think.
Taylor makes a good point. Even the fans of the Rookery were knackered in the second half. There had to be a second one at about 72 minutes, but there we go. Lads, anything else you wanted to mention about the second half, or we just briefly touch on full-time scenes? Anything else you wanted to mention?
Tom Delibishiri deserves a shout out. He was exceptional. Yeah. And like I just showed there, with those two coming to the ball and the space it creates, but again, dispatched his penalty, but he was really, really good yesterday.
Absolutely agree. I think that midfield two of Loser and Delibishiri is a lovely balance to it. Both really comfortable on the ball as well, and in tight spaces, which I think is so important. Ben made a good point that Imran gets 80-plus touches with 90% accuracy most games, often weighing in with key passes. If you look at his stats yesterday, it was a 97% accurate passes from Imran Loser, which, when you think about, yeah, sure, there's sideways passes, etc. But as you said, Ben, there's key passes in there. And we had to get the first goal, as Odgster says here as well. Full-time scenes, Sam. I mean, look, we've had a few of them this season, particularly there's two back-to-back now. Borough away, Tom Clevy's been lifted up. Luton at home, Tom Clevy's been lifted up. We saw the video.
So is Kayembe as well. He loves him. He must be teacher's pet.
I love Kayembe. He's so lovely. Also, his post-match interview yesterday was lovely as well. Yeah, there's a real togetherness, Sam. We mentioned it this season. And I think probably the better question would be to you. In the context of this season, can this be a springboard, Sam, for a big back end of the season now for Watford?
I don't think I don't think yesterday was the springboard. I still go back to the moment of the season so far was the Coventry away game at full time, where I think, yes, while physically KMB has picked up Tom Cleverley at full time after the Middlesbrough game and yesterday against Luton, I think metaphorically the whole squad picked up Tom Cleverley after that Coventry game, where it was very, very clear who the fans were behind. It was very, very clear who the players were behind. I remember those Matty Pollock comments after the Coventry game will stick by with me for a long time, in terms of him saying how much the players love the fans and the manager as well. And I think that has almost been a springboard, because since Coventry, the performances have improved massively. Not saying it's because of that, but yeah, I just think the bond is there, and I think that is down to Tom Cleverley. And to think that Gino was going to sack him was, I mean, don't even get me started. We're being positive today only, but yeah, it's those scenes at full time were really, really special. And yeah, I'm here to advocate as well for karaoke at the Vic for 20 minutes after every game from now on.
Do you know what? Elton in the building as well. He was watching. Ian did say though, Sam, that's the hat trick for Sam tonight. Gianluca Nani, Yasser Larousse in him.
God, imagine me on a night out with them three.
Where would you take them? Watford, Sam?
Where would I take them?
You were going to take Gianluca Nani, Yasser Larousse in loser for a night out in Watford.
We go to the Mad Squirrel, best beer in Watford, and it's 7 minutes away from Vicarage Road. Nice, easy place to go to. Make sure to head there on a match day.
You are such a pro. You're such a pro. Sam Ucko, what a man. Charlie, what was your favourite bit of content yesterday, by the way, coming out of the
club? Yeah, no, I really like Sam's bit of content, capturing that kind of all the players in front of the rookery. And, you know, when you look down and you can see all the fans and the energy, I thought that was really nice. Great. The guys saw the video at the start that we played. Nice bit of a promo from Ryan Andrews. So, Ryan, we know you're watching. Appreciate that, mate. And yeah, some good taking in the sights. Like I said earlier, I think we got it absolutely spot on. Any bits of content you boys like from yesterday?
Ooh. I don't talk about just going off content for a second. Moment that I just remembered, it was, and he spoke about this in his interview. It was the first time I'd seen Cleverly almost just let it go for a moment in front of the rookery.
Really, a fist bump, was it?
It was a bit of a fist bump, but I just think it looked like a huge release. I just think the tension over the last few weeks, the frustration maybe in the transfer window and whether he was getting sacked or not, and the unity with the fans. He's been very, very quick, Clevs, to almost say, this isn't about me, it's about the players, it's about the fans, and distancing himself from everything. But I think yesterday was the first time you almost saw him, I don't want to say lose it, but he enjoyed that moment, and rightly so, I think.
He said something in the pre-match which I really, really liked. I think Andrew French asked him, "Are you nervous?" And you know what? How many times have we heard managers say it's another game? And he said, "No, I can't lie. I am nervous. This game's a bit different." And it just resonated with me instantly. He is one of us. We are so lucky to have him. I'm just worried that he's going to get offers soon, but yeah, he has changed Watford, and this is, I feel like since I've been on this channel, we've been brick by brick building, but I feel like he's got the cement mixer out quick time. He's got the scaffolding, and he is getting us back to being not a proper football club just yet, because there's someone at the top of that who might not make us proper. But I feel like if we carry on the way we're going and have a decent summer, we could be in a really good position going into next season.
Hang on. What a comment from Adam, by the way. The players hugging and lifting Clevs as one of their own is so refreshing to see. A few years ago, it would have been hard to see Watford love their coach this much, and that is the impact of Tom Cleverley. Ben also made the point that the number of technicians in the team now makes it possible to play how Tom really wants to play, which I think is a great point. A couple more comments just to wrap up before we look ahead to March. I know it's a bit of a bumper stream, but hey, let us off. It's one of those games that I think deserves it anyway. We're actually going into Sheffield United Leeds at the moment at Bramall Lane. So I know Sam's counting down the clock thinking, oh, I've got to get on.
It's a big one. I think we probably need a draw from that, just so we can close the gap a bit. Yeah, a draw would probably be best from that for us.
Smooth. There was a comment from James. Great to see you yesterday, James. Don't forget the academy play at Vicarage Road tomorrow night. Watford versus Southampton in the FA Youth Cup. 7 o'clock kickoff at Vicarage Road. If you can make it down, I know the lads would really appreciate it. I don't know many of them personally, but I'd imagine they would absolutely really appreciate that if you fancy it. Melanie, I'm an old school Watford supporter from the 70s when I was 11. I love those scenes, and GT would also love them as well. Absolutely.
On old school Watford stuff, sorry, that I've just seen, by the way. There's a great video on Facebook somewhere. I saw, I think, on Enjoy the Game forum of the players hugging Anne Swanson as she went off the pitch. She was in the tunnel. I think Matty Pollock gave his shirt to her as well. I don't know if either of you have seen the video, but it's wholesome content.
She's got a great seat next to the dugout, hasn't she? So obviously when the players come back, she's always there, and she must be the club would have obviously educated all the players. So it's great to see her and her affiliation there.
Absolutely. Oh, that's really wholesome. I'm going to give that a watch after this as well. We look ahead, lads, to wrap up today, to a busy March, which consists of, you can see that on screen, Stoke away this Saturday, Millwall at home, Swansea at home, Oxford away, Plymouth at home. Now, if I take into the context that out of Sunderland, Leeds, Borough and Luton, we got 7 points. 2 of those away from home against Sunderland and Borough. Expected defeat against Leeds. And we got, well, I like to say an expected win against Luton. But you look at those next 5, lads, what would be a good return for us?
It's really difficult because there are teams around there. I mean, you've got Stoke and Millwall, who I think have always sort of been some awkward games for us. Swansea at that point will probably be, potential new manager bounce after Luke Williams got sacked last week. I think they won 3-0 this weekend already. And Oxford and Plymouth are fighting for their lives down towards the bottom. So I think it's 5 games where we're going to have 5 incredibly different challenges. I think if you offered me, I think we'll get 7 points off that. I think we'll win 2 and draw 1 and lose 2.
Charlie?
Yeah, that Stoke game, it's this Saturday. I'm going. I think that's going to be really tough. Mark Robbins, now their head coach, obviously done an unbelievable job at Coventry. And I think they've had mixed results, but I know they've had a bit of an upturn. I'd like to get us kind of building what we built against Luton and get our home form back, especially that Millwall game, and then follow it up after that against Swansea. 9 points I'd be happy with. Imagine if we got 10 points. I think if we got 10 points, that'd be really impressive. And then that Plymouth game, we should be winning that. It looks easier than it is. I think Sam's right. What do you reckon, Jacob?
No, agreed. I'm at Oxford, lads. I know Charlie's at Stoke. Sam, you're at Oxford?
I'll be at both.
Oh, that's a man who loves it. Yeah, I mean, Oxford away should be a good one as well. I don't know, lads. I think... do you know what is weird? And this might come back to bite me. I do feel like we're hitting a bit of form at the right part of the season. And a lot of times you see, and I'm not that might result in nothing. But all I'm saying is, I think it's really interesting that all the players, and if you listen to the post-match content, they all say this is the best football we've played this season in terms of the level of performance. And if you look at how many games are left, and we get the championship table up, just quickly to wrap up. Sorry, this has gone on for a bit longer than we normally do. 34 games left. Watford are in 9th. They're 3 points off the playoffs. 12 games left for this season. It's a March that basically defines whether we're going to be in the playoff picture come the end of the season, in my opinion, or we just go to a mid-table finish. That's the sort of March that we're looking at there. In terms of how many teams are above us that we're playing, none. The nearest is Millwall at 11th. And then you look down the table, they're teams that you look at Oxford, Stoke, Plymouth, Swansea.
Scroll down a bit more.
And then, unfortunately...
No change at the bottom.
So there we go. Lads, any final thoughts before we wrap up? I've got to do a bit of housekeeping because there's a lot to go. Shout out to Laura, one of our long-term viewers and subscribers of the channel. She's not feeling too well. I think it was a big one yesterday. So all the best to you, Laura. I hope you're feeling better soon. Lads, anything else you wanted to mention that I've missed? I think we've covered most of it.
Objectively speaking, that first half from Luton, I think, is the worst half I've seen from any team so far this season against us. No, genuinely, who's putting a worse performance against us this season than them in that first half?
Do you know what I loved about that? Sam tried to say it with a completely straight face, and then he lost it by the end of it.
Important question: do we want Luton to go down?
Oh,
because
100%.
maybe unpopular opinion, but I do like a derby in the season. It adds a spice.
I didn't like that. Like I said, I didn't enjoy the 90 minutes yesterday. I think once every couple of years is enough for me for now. I need 2 years off, I think, from that.
Do you know what? I'm torn on it because I completely agree with you, Charlie. If that atmosphere is like that at Vicarage Road every year, I love a game like that. And also when you win. But I do side with Sam where that second half was excruciating at times just because you think you do not get a lucky goal. Because it genuinely felt like the only way Luton were going to score was from a cross or a set piece.
Lads, they were nowhere near us in the second half. I know, like, I get the tension and I was the same, but you watch it back, they were pony. Maybe we could not play them for another 10 years again.
But that's almost makes it worse, Charlie. I said it to a guy before the game, right? When you come up against a Luton team that's a good Luton team, like, okay, a decent one, like when we beat them in 22-23, right? I was probably less nervous for that than I was for this game because we were the favourites. We had to win. We had to win our both games, but it was a better Luton team that came here. So I felt that Watford were naturally going to raise the performance. Here, I just felt like, oh no, we're going to play them at their game, which is being, set pieces direct and crosses. And the funniest thing about the whole thing is Matt Bloomfield's come in. He hasn't won 1 in 11 games, but he's completely ripped up the textbook he got at Wycombe, which he did so well with, which is really on the front foot, really attacking football. And that he's now playing a style which is completely opposite to what he's done well with, which is direct, scrappy, set-piece football. So if they were going to do that, surely just bring in another manager, but that's their problem. It's not ours. Bit of housekeeping just to wrap up. Shout out to Henry Bennett analysis thread. There is a link in the description below. Check it out on @WD18 fans. Lads, I've got to ask you, head and heart predictions for the rest of the season. Quite a good time to do it before we go into a busy March. Sam, head where Watford will finish, heart where Watford will finish. Let's do it. Oh, he's on mute. He's lost for words. There we go.
God, I'm lost for words. Apologies about that. Yeah, it's weird because heart, obviously, you want Watford to have memorable days, and one of those would be if we do end up in the playoffs and end up at Wembley. But I also hate the Premier League and would rather stay in the Championship, to be honest. So, yeah, heart is when we sneak into the playoffs and have a nice day out at Wembley. Head, I think we'll be. This March is so defining. I think we'll probably end off around where we are now.
Yeah, my heart's saying 8th, my head's saying 10th. Charlie?
Yeah, heart sneak into the playoffs, 6th. Head, I'll go for a considered 9th. But there'll be no doubt Tom Cleverley will be wanting the playoffs. That is what the messaging will be to the players. So let's see what March has got in store.
Something I do fear, by the way. I do fear that the reason why Tom Cleverley's contract hasn't been extended yet is they're waiting to see if we'll get playoffs. And I do fear that if
don't end on a sour note, Sam. Jesus, man.
Apologies about that.
Get worse,
another conversation for another day.
Sam's opened a can of worms on what 1 hour and 10 minutes in where the Clems is getting a new contract. You've got to respect it. Thanks so much to everyone who watched this evening. If you're listening to this on your Tuesday morning, hopefully it put a smile on your face, reliving the events of Sunday. What a Watford performance, particularly that first half, and what a Watford win, most importantly, on Derby Day. If you could leave a like on the video, that'd be much appreciated. If you enjoyed it, subscribe to WD18. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much, Jonathan. That is put a smile on my face and made my day. So I really do appreciate that. And we will see you maybe in the week, looking ahead to Stoke at some point. We might have another video as well just to relive Sunday because it was an absolute treat. Have a great rest of your Monday night. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'm sure it'll be a good one. And up the Hornets. You want?